Hi. So we are so lucky today to have my own grandpa, Shelly Zucker, here. He has done so many amazing, incredible things in the music business and music industry for his entire life. And so I'm so excited to have him here on this Zoom with us today to talk a little bit about just everything music business. I know that we're all here probably because, music has shaped our life in one way, shape, or form, or maybe we just love musical theater or, can really appreciate it. So I'm sure that we're all hopefully going to leave with a little bit more insight than before after this fun little Zoom meeting. I am keeping the chat open. If you guys would like to chat, just please, of course, keep everything appropriate. I have my two little managers here, Michaela and Liv, just making sure everything's all good. So if you don't want to get kicked off the Zoom, just make sure everything's staying nice and clean. If you
Zoom
have
with
any
Zaydee.
questions, of course, feel free to type in the chat. We'll get to those in a bit. But without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to my own grandpa, Shelly
And
Zucker.
Zoom with Zaydee
Woo!
time.
Am I on?
There
You're
you are.
on. Yep,
Okay.
all you.
Well, basically, what people need to realize are that there are two main aspects to the industry. One is the person who writes the song, because if you didn't have that person, you wouldn't have songs. Two is the person who listens, goes to concerts, buys the recordings, and so on. Basically, those are your two extremes. Everything in between is part of the music business. It just doesn't happen. Um, People get discovered, they get this, they get that. But basically, there's always a lot of luck involved. And of course, talent. I'll tell you just to throw in a very funny story. Years and years ago, when we had a music business, not like now where you know, the amount of music we have is what we hum walking through the house, banging our heads against the wall. But I did a party. Sherry, I don't know if you were in this, but I did a party in City Island, which is a little place off of Orchard Beach, that area. And it was a yacht club, a small yacht club that people who enjoyed boating would belong to this thing. There were no big deal with rules and regulations and so on. But once a year, they changed the guy in charge, who they called the Commodore. Okay. And they made a party and they hired a band. So this was either 3 or 4 piece. That's why I don't know if you were there. But what happened was that, let's just hold that for a second and move ahead. David Letterman, who I'm sure everyone out there knows, has heard of, had a late night show and had a morning show before the late night show, and decided to do a live anniversary party for a couple 30 or 40 years married. And he said to his entertainment director, I don't want the band that we have here. I want a typical wedding, bar mitzvah, dinner dance. I want that kind of band. And it's funny because that guy was a guest the week before at the club. So you talk about luck. He said, David, I got the best band for you. Blah, 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 blah. We did it on television. It was a ball and a half. And had it not wound up, the luck involved in him being there would never happen. Are you with me?
Yeah, yeah.
Good. So now the other thing to consider is that composers are a reflection of the times. Bob Dylan wrote music in the 60s. You had music in the 50s. You had Motown. These were all isolated episodes in music that lasted a certain period of time. Some things lasted forever, and they're called the oldies. the Motown and the 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and the 50s and so on. But society changes, and composers write for that society. And because going to the other end of the list, the consumer, the listener, the concert goer, he don't care. He's not gonna buy that stuff unless he likes it. So it's a constant rewriting and rechanging of genre, if you will. Okay, what the situation presented. Now, in between those two, the composer and the consumer, you got gazillion of people involved: the publisher, the agent, the artist, the manager, the concert tours. Just a concert tour alone can be thousands of people involved, from the printing and selling of tickets to the person on the telephone. There's a ton of them. Now, let's not forget the stores where they sell the records and the music, and it never ends. There's the big thing, the most important thing to realize is that if you love the industry and you want to be part of the music industry, you don't have to be a great singer. You don't have to be a great composer. You just need to be in the right place at the right time, and the rest of it falls into place. There are so many things. If you don't have the voice or the talent, what's to prevent you from being an engineer and making the recordings? What's to prevent you from being an art, if you have a lot of contacts, okay, from being a manager or an agent? The publishing companies are very, very big deals, and they take a lot of your money away from you when you do publishing, and that's why a lot of artists ultimately open up their own recording studio and their own publishing company. Because why give 50% to a publisher if they're John Lennon does not, or Paul McCartney did not need, they were so big, they didn't need any of these people to send them on their way. It was just natural. So you've got a whole bunch of things. I'll give you an example: concert tours, producer, promoter, road manager, the electronic tour. For example, when you see it, very frequently people will buy tickets to go to a theater and see the concert in the theater. They can't make it to Las Vegas, so it's there. So you have a electric tour, the sponsors, advertisement, tickets, lighting, sound, makeup. It just doesn't end. It's great. And all of this is for people who may not have the talent to be a singer or to write songs, and then you get a Carole King who wrote songs and all of a sudden one day decided, why am I paying a singer? I can sing this. And she did. So now she did both, Hold on, let me see. Hello. Hi, Danny, I'm on television. I'll call you back. I'm on with Alexa. I'll tell you at the end of this why that was so important. I had to get that, okay? So do you understand what I try to open up? That the music business is immense. And one other thing I wrote down in my notes when I was lecturing at the various music conventions. Every state has, New York has got NYSMA, New York State Music, and so on. Connecticut has got, what do they have? CMEA, Connecticut Music. Jersey has it, Massachusetts. So I used to put in and talk at these places. And the one thing that although has nothing to do with the music business, has everything to do with the music business. It must be understood that throughout every aspect of the industry, the services of legal, financial, and protection agencies will be required. What I mean by protection agency, I don't mean the mafia, to be a protection agency. Protection agency are their ASCAP, BMI. They're the organizations that you register with, and every time your song is played, sung, whatever, you get a piece. It may not be a lot. You may only get a nickel or 8 cents or 10, 3, but when you start selling in the millions, those 3 to 5 cents and 8 cents, they add up, and it's a nice little piece of change. And the producer, and I'm sorry, the publisher gets half of that. So, I mean, very nicely, you could say, screw you, I'm doing this myself, after you get to a point.
Does that also count for, the people who deal with copyright that you also have to, isn't there there are entertainment
Well,
lawyers who
copywriting
specifically
has to
deal?
do with the publisher. He's the
Mm.
one who gets the song copywritten. All right.
Could
He
you
starts,
explain
the
to them?
publisher is a very important person. He keeps
Mm-hmm.
it all going, you know.
Mm.
What do I have here? I don't remember all. The publisher's most important job is to locate and sign fresh new talent. They must
Mm.
then be represented and protected, and they protect their composer. And they do this by copywriting all new material. So the publisher is the one who does that.
Could
Anyone
you
then wishing to sing or record the song must first obtain.
Okay, well,
Hello,
okay, I'm going to talk
I'm
for a
on. I'm
second
on with
then
Lexi.
about
I can't talk to you now.
copywriting
I'll call you
because
back later.
copywriting, anything that you
I'll talk
put
to you later.
out there,
I'm sorry.
anyone can steal and use as their own. So a copyright means that you are having those
It's
rights to
it's a
that
musical
song.
patent, Sherry.
Right.
It's a
Okay, well, they
musical
need to know
patent.
that. I wanted you to explain that to them.
Yes. Okay. When you invent something, you want to make sure that it's yours. So you protect it by getting a patent on it. And what happens is that every time, even a little piece, if they're doing a TV, if they're doing a movie thing, and they take little bits and pieces and they put on Fred Astaire dancing with Ginger Rogers, and the next step is um, who's the guy who died? He was in not Dirty Dancing, the Dirty Dancing.
Patrick Swayze,
Patrick Swayze and the girl.
Jennifer.
If they sometimes what they do on your internet, you hear da 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 da, and then they show you little bits and pieces of famous people who they fit right in dancing. Okay, they get money for that. Even if it's a minute, they get money for that. It's very cool. So the biggest money makers are the composers and the publishers, and the biggest money spenders are the people who go to the concerts and what do you call it? Buy the recordings and so on. By the way, here's something that most people don't realize. Do you know the main reason for a concert? Why people have a concert?
To hear the music live?
No. Guess again.
People can put in the chat if they want what they might
Anybody
think.
want to add to see if they can get that? Why are concerts so important? What's the main reason to have a concert?
I know the
I think
answer.
isn't that like the main way that okay. Someone said ticket sales, someone said performance royalties, someone said to see your idol artist exposure, to get their songs out and make money, to promote the album.
Time. You ready for this? The biggest, most important reason for a concert is to sell records. How many times have you seen on TV a concert or actually go to a live concert when you hear them say, here's a song I just recorded on my latest album. I hope you like it. And every young yutz runs out and buys it. The album stinks except for this one song. And they spend the money and they buy it. The concert is a very important seller of record. Then there's also another thing very important to understand. When we talk about records, you know, it's the record industry. They don't have records anymore. Nobody has records, okay? Records is something of my generation and my father's generation. They have now CDs and tapes and so on and so on, but we still call it the record industry, okay? Just as long as you understand when we talk about record sales, and we're talking about sales from CDs and what do you call that? DVDs, when you buy a concert from a DVD.
There's also something else, Pop.
Yeah.
That the concerts, you should explain to them that that is the way that the artist makes money, because they get practically nothing, because it all goes to the publishers and it all goes to the songwriters, the ones who are actually recording it, the stars. They don't make a lot of money on the recordings. They make the money
By
on
going on tour
by
and
going
doing
on
those
tour.
concerts.
Right,
Yep.
but the main idea
Right.
of
The
the
make
idea
concert
money.
and
is
the
to make
tour
right,
is to
right,
sell records. Now,
right.
what do I
Absolutely.
have here? I wanted to tell you, royalties from record sales. They're usually 10% of the distributor's purchase price. Now, this sounds like double talk, but let me explain. If the manufacturer makes a record, it costs them, let's say, $6 to make the CD. The CD is then sold to a distributor who sells it to a retailer for $10. The retailer spends $12 and then passes it on to the consumer who spends $15. The royalty would be 10% of the $10 from the distributor. You have to go to the different categories. The other thing to understand is that the artist receives a percentage on the whole album, not on each individual song. This is a very big difference. If Alexa did an album with 15 songs and the album sold, she would receive 10% of the distributor's price of the whole album. The composer receives per song.
Oh.
So if there are 15 songs that the composer wrote, they get a little piece for each song. May not be a lot, but it adds up.
And there's also, could you explain, like with ASCAP, that there are jobs and what the jobs at ASCAP are
What's
for them? See,
Did
they
I
don't
miss
even know what
that?
ASCAP is.
Okay, ASCAP, let me look and see what I have written down here because I got so much junk here. The American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. That's what ASCAP is. Traditionally just called ASCAP. Is one of the largest agencies ensuring that earned residuals are paid. You know, I didn't mention this before, but this is a good time to bring it up. Remember I told you I did the David Letterman show? There was a guy from ASCAP who came to the studio before the show began with a pencil and paper and said, what songs are you going to do? I said, I don't know. He says, he says, what do you mean you don't know? I says, I'm a club date musician. They ask for songs. I said, I do songs. He says, take a guess. I said, well, their favorite song is this, and they like that, and da 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 da. And he wrote them down. Now, the one who composed the song, not the artist, because I was the singer, but the what do you call it? They received money from that. That's why he was
Oh,
there. Hey,
okay.
it gets
Yeah.
better. There was a fire on the show. Sherry,
Right.
remember that? It was an anniversary party, and they had sparklers, and they were waving the sparkler. And then at one time when they sang happy anniversary, they pulled the thing and a whole bunch of confetti fell down, and some yucca dropped his sparkler, and the studio caught on fire. Well, I got to tell you, it could have been a disaster, but the guy came out with the fire extinguisher and so on. Now, David Letterman was invited as a guest to Good Morning America, Entertainment Tonight, and, the general BS. But every time he was there, they said, hey, David, I heard you had a little fire on your show. He says, yeah, I have a little clip. And there's this clip of yours truly singing, I can't smile without you, on camera, okay, on another show. We get paid for all of that. Yeah, we made a fortune on that. We made money
Wow.
from the Tonight Show, not the Today Show. And each time they showed it, that's what a residual is all about. That's
And
where the money is to be made.
ASCAP keeps track of that. They
Exactly right.
record every single thing that you see on TV. If they are showing a television in the background and it's some music, if you're hearing music, ASCAP hires people to listen to radio stations, log
Sherry,
all these so everyone gets it.
Sherry, you don't have
Yeah,
to do that. Get in an elevator.
right, right. Music
More
is
than the greatest
everywhere.
of this world. Bingo, 5 cents.
Yep,
No,
absolutely.
it's
Every time.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
there are a
Every
lot of
time.
jobs. You actually one of the lowest paid is the actual performer.
Yeah, but you see, when the actual performer reaches a level, by the way, before we end this, ASCAP is one of the largest, but there's broadcast music is BMI, is another organization. Society,
Zaydee, make sure that your video's on. Go to the bottom left-hand corner of your screen.
oh, it went off.
Yeah.
Just the bottom left.
I got it. I become a pro in this. How's that?
Yay! And now can you just put your
Down a little
camera a
bit.
little bit more down so that we can see you. Yay! There we go. Perfect.
That's perfect. Yep.
Yeah, very, very good.
Okay. So there are a whole, like for example, right now with the COVID problem, you have Pfizer, and all of a sudden this other company came in on its coattails. What's it with an M? There's
Uh,
more than one company doing it now. It's the same
Doing
thing
the
there.
injections.
Yeah,
Doing right.
yeah. So there's more than one. But it's a fascinating industry, just being one aspect of it alone. And I was very fortunate. I was involved in all of that. I did production, I did arranging, I wrote. I never did anything original, but I wrote arrangements, some of which came out pretty good. And yeah, I wrote for your mother. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I also just want to put in there because I know like in the chat Joe Dwyer, hey Joe, I don't know if you're still on here, but they mentioned how, times have changed a lot and it's different from, when there was just iTunes where you would pay per song or per album, where now you have a lot of streaming services. Like you have Spotify where
Mhm.
you're not actually paying for the song, you pay for some sort of service that now gives you access to be able to stream a ton of songs. So when it comes to royalties about that, I don't really know a ton, and I'm
I
not
I
quite.
don't I don't either.
Yeah, yeah. So what we're kind of going off of for this Zoom is sort of the music industry
And how it evolved.
and sort of how it evolved, and all of that. So as far as streaming services now, I'm not exactly quite sure how that works, but it's probably maybe similar to like YouTube or something, where the streaming platform is obviously going to compensate the performers, or maybe even pay the performers for letting them even have the songs on that streaming service. I'm not quite sure, but it's definitely worth looking up.
All right. Okay. So anybody have it? Did we cover enough? We covered concerts, protection agencies. Oh, and then of course there's stores. There, Sam Ash is one of your biggest, for instruments and music. But you have all of these tons and tons of mom and pops music stores, all in all the little neighborhoods. Sam Ash is not going into Hunter, New York.
Right.
Okay, but they will in Long Island and Manhattan. So,
So if
uh,
someone, so
oh,
actually,
oh, another thing to understand, I want to make mention of the difference between an artist, a manager, and an agent.
perfect.
This is important to know. A an agent needs a license, and they can have as many people as they want in their what we call in their stable working for them. The manager can't have that. The manager has one dancer, one singer, one this, otherwise it becomes a conflict of interest. The manager also makes a lot of money, much more than the agent. But the agent makes it from two places. The agent makes it from the venue. Suppose Caesar Palace in Vegas wants an act, a singer. They call a manager or an agent. The agent calls the manager, checks if everything is okay, and they go in. The agent makes money from the venue who he got the act for, and from the act who he got the job for. Managers don't do that. They get paid once. But they're the ones who lay out a fortune in money at times. Um, who sang Do You Know the Way to San Jose?
I'm not sure.
Doesn't matter.
Well, it does because I can't think of her name. She sang that. She did a lot with Burt Bacharach. Anyway,
Roberta Flack?
no, no. She had a face. She had a face like a horse going north, and you were looking at the south side of it. They redid her whole face, her teeth. She was horrible to look at, and the manager paid thousands and thousands of dollars to make her presentable
Wait, why?
because that's what they felt was needed in order to make a star out of her.
Hmm.
Wow.
But the agent has no ties to making any money.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Someone said, "Oh wait, so Grandma said Dion
John
W."
Warwick.
Dionne Warwick, right? That's right. Thank you, Grandma. That's right, Dionne Warwick. I mean, even if you look at her now, she has an elongated chin, very toothy, and that's after all the problems that she had.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that a manager does have to shell out bucks sometimes. whereas an agent doesn't. So anybody have questions?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Um, I want to ask Zaydee, what was your least favorite, or what was your least favorite and then your favorite gig that you've ever done?
Well, one of my favorite gigs was David Letterman. That was a blast and a half. Even just to say I did the David Letterman show. What was the other half of that question?
What was your least favorite?
My least favorite job. I was with one of my best friends. His name was Eddie. He's gone now, unfortunately. And we had a job in Jersey, a wedding. And we left. It was a 7:30 start on a Sunday night. And we left at 6 o'clock because it was right over the bridge. We had no problem on the Cross Bronx Expressway, no problem on any of the bridges, no him. And I said to Eddie, Eddie, something is wrong here. We never do, something is wrong. He says, da. P.S. We pull up to the place. There's no wedding. The wedding was canceled. The groom never showed up. So you want to talk about the worst party I ever did?
Dang.
What about the funniest one where something
Oh,
happened?
one of the funniest ones was I was on a job with a bar mitzvah boy who had an afro, a huge afro. Okay. And the kid was a real pain in the neck. He couldn't sit still. He was this, he was leaning, he was this. And I'm looking at the list, calling the next person for the candle lighting ceremony. And Eddie is going, Shelly, look. What? Shelly, look. Eddie, stop. Look. The kid's head caught on fire. And I went, and went, shh, and put it out. And then went right on with that had to have been one of the funniest, at least one of the cleanest that I can mention on the show. But
Oh my
that was the
gosh.
best. Sherry, you didn't know about that story?
No.
Eddie, if Eddie was still alive, he'd get hysterical just thinking about it.
That's insane.
Yeah.
We have some more questions. Before we
Good.
do, I got a message from one of my friends, Joe, who was actually a music industry major. And so he said that, you know how we brought up like the streaming services and how that works. He said they pay per stream. So Spotify pays 0.00437 per stream.
What is a stream? I don't know what a stream is.
So
Every time it's
every
played.
time it's played on one of these
Oh,
streaming
okay.
services, that means they would have to play it 336,842 times to, or like it would have to have that many streams to earn minimum wage. So for popular artists, it's not an issue as they get millions of streams, but for newer artists, they're struggling like never before. Streaming services will send mechanical royalties to the HFA, and then that money goes to each publisher based on the compulsory license. Then that money is distributed to the songwriter. Dang. Wow. Okay. Crazy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
It's very similar to what went on in the past,
Mhm.
except a new vernacular.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, here's another question for you, Zaydee. How many shows have you performed in?
On stage or in the pit?
Both.
Okay. By shows, do you mean like a Broadway show or a concert band?
I guess like concert. How many, let's put it this way, how many gigs do you think you've actually played at in your whole lifetime? How many performances have you done in that sense?
Cool.
Well, I was in the business from around 1958 to pretty much when it ended, which was around 98. There's nothing happening pretty much after that, or 2008 or whatever. And you figure I did between 2 and 5 dates every weekend.
Wow.
And then that was the professional. Then I also played in concert bands where we didn't make any money. We would just perform, a 50 or 60 piece band that plays concerts in the park. So it's very hard for me to go ahead and give you a number, but I would say I probably did about 10 of those a year, at least 150 club dates a year. And then I taught privately, and then I wrote, I got paid for writing. So
Wow.
there was money coming in. I was also a school teacher, but I didn't get any money from that.
Ooh, Zaydee, here's a cool question. Any pre-show rituals that you had? Was there anything that you would do before a gig that was
Yeah, I
almost like a
understand.
ritual?
Usually, well, it wasn't so much a ritual as much as it was a warm up. Um, being, if you were a trumpet player or a horn player, you would warm up, just getting your fingers in your mouth and so on. Drummers have a pad, a little rubber pad that they put on top of the drum so it doesn't make noise. And then and they practice just to get their wrists working, you know.
Wow.
Um, also, I have found that practicing is very important if you just concentrate on parts that are giving you a problem. If you play from beginning to end, you're going to wind up screwing up the parts that you know cold in order to go ahead and get that one part that you had a little problem with, get that right. So the idea is to go ahead and just work on that one spot and the rest of it will come. You do it once or twice, end of story. You don't need it anymore.
Gotcha. Nice, yeah. Oh dang, yeah. Joe wrote again, streaming's the worst way for artists to make money. 1 million streams is $3,222. Dang,
Wow.
crazy. Um, yeah. Someone said, yeah, music changes as it adapts to the times. What do you think was the best year or decade for music? That's a great
Mm.
question. What do you think,
Yeah,
Sadie?
well, I personally think the best was the 60s
Mm.
because the 60s had actually four different kinds of music going. Or if you want to carry it further, five. You had classical music, which never changed. You had popular music with Sinatra and Andy Williams and Bing Crosby and so on and so forth. And then you had rock and roll, and that had different aspects, unlike any time before. You had soul, you had this, and the soul music was divided into um, categories. For example, did you ever hear Tom Jones singing why, Delilah, or any of that
They
nonsense?
probably haven't.
No, they haven't. Um, when he first
Elvis.
came, it's called Blue Eyed Soul. When he first came on the air, you would think he was black. It was white singing like a black singer. And that was called Blue Eyed Soul. Then you had Motown, which was very exciting, with great artists, Smokey Robinson and Diana Ross and Michael Jackson and all the other. You had more going on in the 60s to me than any other time.
Hmm.
I think that would have, if you asked, that would have been my favorite time of the year.
What
Time.
do you think, Mom?
For me, um, I think 60s also, because then during the 60s you had like a resurgence of big bands, but
Right.
not necessarily like playing music from the 40s. You had like Chicago and Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and you had big saxophone sections, and but the music was awesome, like totally amazing and great harmonies. And so I don't know if that would be considered 70s or early 70s, but it was kind of
19,
spin-off.
1969 is when it started.
Yeah, okay, so I made the cutoff. So yeah, so that is part of the 60s. So I
Yeah.
definitely agree.
And that's
The
also David Clayton Thomas in Blood, Sweat, and Tears. When he first sang, "You Made Me So Very," you could swear he was a black artist.
Yeah,
That's Blue Eyed Soul.
right.
Mm.
But they
Okay?
combined the Blue-Eyed Soul with um like big bands and jazz and everything. It was exciting listening to the
Very
music,
much
and it
so.
was also all live. It wasn't digitized like a lot of it became. A lot of it is done in the studio now. Like they won't
Yeah.
have live musicians. You won't have a saxophone player. You'll have someone playing a piano that sounds like a saxophone.
Yeah, like
Whereas
Jonah.
yes, like my son. But no, but he actually plays that though. But yeah, it's a lot of, and the other thing was that the music business used to be you would go in and do one take because it was a record. They would have to, you know, you could explain how they did the records back then because I don't even know with the needle
They
and all this kind of
actually cut a record.
right.
They put the needle on the record, let it spin, and dug a groove and left the sound track on it. And if you made a mistake in the garbage, you started all over again. Once you got to tapes, that was a reel to reel and an actual studio, then you could stop it at any time and move back. What would happen is that they would play along with it. It's called a punch, Punch. And for example, let's say, "Just in time, I found you just in time," and you got sloppy at the end. Well, you go back to "Just in time, I punch, I found you just in time, punch out." And that's all you have to do. You don't have to start all over again. You
Hmm.
just punch that little section. It's very cool.
Crazy. It's insane how much times have changed. Even in just in
Oh,
my
sure.
even just in my electroacoustics class, learning about as soon as digital recording softwares got to be, as they got to be more and more elaborate and intense over time, even just in the little projects that we've done, you can just get like a simple MIDI keyboard, or not even that. You could literally just plug in notes, and you can have the computer say, I want to play this note at this time, and I want for it to hit it with this amount of force and let go at this time and decrease over this amount of time. And I want to make it be able to sound like, you could do a voice, you could do a saxophone, you could do a piano, you could do a flute, you could do anything. It's insane how
Yeah,
all of that's changed.
yeah. But
I don't want to go off on a tangent though.
that's been around quite a while, and it's amazing how it's changed, how it's evolved. At one time, there was an instrument called the Melotron. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but
Yeah,
this Melotron was
I
a
have.
recording of the London Philharmonic Orchestra playing a note. If you push the C, the London Philharmonic played that C, and so on and so forth. So if you went da 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 da, you heard an orchestra playing it, but this instrument was the size of the Empire State Building, and was very, it's like $4,000, very expensive. And nowadays, you see what Jonah played. It's amazing, the instruments, what has, and the sound is so much better. It's so much more authentic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here's another question. Were you ever in a garage band?
No, no.
I didn't know that.
If I'm correct with what the person is asking, garage bands meaning just rehearsing, playing songs, and getting it
Yeah,
right.
I think so.
Yeah, no, no. You see, in my day, a garage band was always popular, but in my day, the you didn't have to be a great musician. you had to know the tunes.
Mm.
Repertoire was the name of the game. If you had a guy on who forget it, he's not necessary. But to have someone go very simply, ba da 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 da. It's all they want. That the people want to hear a melody. They don't want to hear the rest of that shit. Oops, the rest of that stuff. Um, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's changed a lot. Nowadays, almost all the bands are some kind of a replica of a garage band.
Mm.
They practice. Some of these bands are superb. They're absolutely superb. But you know something, Lex? They can't even play Happy Birthday without the music,
Mm.
you know?
Crazy, yeah.
And in the bands that well, you remember, Sherry, we used to go on a job and there was always someone in the band who knew the song. When people would come up and ask if we could play such and such that was the name of the game. Being able to play what
Mm.
the people wanted to hear.
Crazy.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the music business um, and performing is not just a question of, being the star and making the recordings, because there's club dates even now, which is what I did and what you did, and which is singing for parties. And they have even engineers for parties who
Yeah.
come in and set
Yeah.
up all the different things. And I mean, it's crazy.
What do you call it? A soundboard. It's
Hmm.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Here's another question if we're all done with this one. Zadie, what is your favorite music to listen to and your favorite music to play?
That's hard. That's a mood thing. There are times that I'm interested in classical music that I would like to hear. So the other day, we got a Alexa.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, we got an Alexa,
I
and
feel replaced.
No, you're not replaced. Bonnie would go right, Alexa, play Motown, and it would play. And in the middle of everything, I would say, Alexa, play Beethoven's Fifth. So you'd hear boom, 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 dum, 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 da, 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 da. It was, and so, so naturally, Bonnie turned around. What did you do? I didn't do nothing. I didn't. It did it on its own. I didn't, um, I'm reading a very interesting book. It's called The Worm at the Core, and it has to do with how things originate. There's a very interesting statement in there that people are very comfortable with stuff that they real recognize and they know. The oldies will always be very popular because people feel safe with that. They feel at ease. It's something that they know. It brings back memories of fun times, you know. Um, Aunt Nita one time got tickets for this concert in a park in Coney Island area. Okay, and we parked like 3-4 blocks away, and we're walking there, and there's a black couple behind us walking in the same direction. Must have been about 10 feet behind, 15, you know. And I said to Bonnie, I said, I can't wait. Dum, 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 dum. And I hear from behind me, I got sunshine. And I started singing along with her. We had such a great time we had a better time getting to the concert than the concert. You never, it's something that people always know and they feel comfortable and safe with it, you
Mm.
know? And it's very interesting that as an example, they brought up, you've heard of Stravinsky, Igor Stravinsky.
Mhm.
Okay. His first big ballet was called The Rite of Spring. It was so unbelievably dissonant and so insane that it caused a riot. There actually was a riot in France when it
What
was
does dissonant mean for people who may not know when you say it was so
dissonant
dissonant?
means uh, notes that clash together. If you went to the piano and you played a C and you played a C sharp at the same time, yeah, it really sounds terrible.
We can do it.
Okay, my mother and I will demonstrate dissonance.
Okay.
I'll sing the C, you sing the C sharp.
Okay.
Okay. Da.
Thank you.
There you go.
That really that lets whoever wants to know that's dissonance. That's dissonance. Now sometimes dissonance is important because especially when you resolve the dissonance, and then it makes you and then you know, really, that's really what it's like, and this is the beauty of it all, is to the beauty of the oldies, what they're all about, other than listening at it's cousin Brucey, or any of that Michigas, craziness. But and that's fun too, because you remember listening to him when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Dan Ingram, I know these guys, and it's just, that's my favorite music. I happen to like the 70s too, because it was the transition into more disco, and it was a different kind of music, but an enjoyable music, and it had its own set of kings and queens. The Bee Gees, very big in disco with Saturday Night Fever. These other acts, very
Donna
important.
Summers.
Di,
Donna Summer.
Donna Summer, thank you, one of my favorites. Gloria Gaynor, these were new people. But after that, you had these insane BJ Kadukas, and strange names. And see, I don't want to get into an argument with anyone, but
Right.
to me, I can't handle hip hop or the rest of that stuff.
So, Dad,
Yeah.
during the 1950s, what just to say when what you were talking about, they thought that the 50s rock and roll was like the devil, didn't they? Like the Beatles
Well,
and
what
Elvis.
happened? What you must understand is that up until that time, it was basically an adult world. If you watch television, Leave It to Beaver, the husband and wife would sit down for dinner. He was wearing a tie, she was wearing a dress. The kids were all very neatly dressed. Today, they got sneakers on the table, ripped t-shirts. And so, you understand what I'm saying? It was completely different then. And I didn't like it. But it was still a comfortable time. It was still a very comfortable time.
Nice. Okay. So very last question. Let's see. Oh, also someone's Alexa went off when you made the Alexa joke and everyone started laughing about it in the chat.
What Alexa joke? I don't remember anymore.
Oh no, you were just never
You
mind.
mentioned
You
it.
mentioned it.
Oh, Alexa,
Yeah,
Ovid's
yeah.
gonna do it again.
Oh, that was very funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think you answered all of them. So I guess now it'll just be time for closing remarks.
All
Or
right.
I know that we have Aunt Brittany or Aunt Susie on here. And also we may even just have we have Grandma on here, and I think
Which
Aunt Steph had
grandma?
to leave. Grandma Sandy.
Okay.
If any of them want to say hi or ask any questions.
Or put me on the spot for something.
Here, I'll let Aunt Brittany unmute if she wants.
Hi, Dad.
Where's Brittany?
I'm right here.
Hi,
Oh.
Britsky.
You see me? Hi.
Hello.
What did you think of the music I listened to when I was growing up?
Well, when you were growing up, it was music that had a melody and made sense and was fun for kids of your age. What was his name? He did Baby Beluga and the Deep Blue Sea. You remember those songs?
Yes.
You remember?
I do.
I don't remember. Ravi was, I think Ravi?
Rafi.
Rafi, yeah. He did a whole bunch. They were wonderful tunes. They were wonderful tunes for kids to sing along and learn from. And Brittany,
Wait, that I kind of meant like, Britney Spears. You always made a really funny comment about Britney Spears' singing, and I kind of just want to humor that. You remember?
no, about you singing?
No, not me, Britney Spears. Remember
Oh,
her
Britney
song?
Spears. Oh, she was terrible.
No.
Sorry, Britney Spears.
Didn't she say she like sounded like constipated or something? Like,
Yeah, he did. He did. I always felt if she ever took her finger out of her, you know where, she'd sound great. I'm getting too crazy. All right.
All right, I was just fishing for a good laugh.
Oh, yay! Thanks, Aunt Brittany. That was a
Hey,
wonderful note
Brittany.
to leave it on. Here, and I'm also just gonna let Aunt Susie unmute if she wants to, because Aunt Susie made sure to be here and
All
support
right,
you. You
Aunt
did so good.
Susie.
And Grandma.
Hi, Zaydee.
Hi, Aunt Susie. How are you
You did
feeling?
amazing, and it was very funny when somebody had asked you about your funniest story. The first thing that came into my mind was the story you used to tell about being on the bandstand when they put the speaker under the moose's head. And the kid would go, every time the kid went to reach up to the microphone, you would say, "Don't touch my nose." And the kid thought, you don't remember that?
I don't remember.
Oh, I love that story. That was one of my favorite stories you
remember
could
Sorry,
tell.
don't remember.
Anyway, you did amazing.
Thank you. How are you feeling?
Okay, go to Aunt Grandma Sandy.
Well, I don't. She doesn't have her video on.
Oh.
I'll give her the option to unmute if she'd like, but she's probably with Aunt Susie
Okay.
right now.
The
Oh,
host.
yay!
Hey, I don't know
Hi.
what happened. Again, I haven't fixed the picture on here, but
Okay.
I'm here.
Yay!
Great performance, Charles.
Thank you.
I
Thank
have
you.
this story, and we were quite young at the time and
Yes, we
performing
were.
up in the mountains. And on a break, while there was a party going on for the holiday, I guess July 4th, the people had spaghetti dinners or whatever they were handing out. And all of a sudden, three men came walking toward me and picked me up.
Oh, that
and
was
they
a bungalow
started walking
company.
with me. And my cousin Jay was also on that particular job. He was playing clarinet.
Yes.
And so
Sandy.
now, as they're walking, you walked over to them and said, what are you doing? They said, there's one of the guys here that's been here all summer and never gone into the pool.
Right, that was
I
a
guess it was
bungalow
Labor Day
colony.
weekend. That's right. And so we're going to put her down. We're just using her to follow us to get him down there. So he said, well, then you said I'll carry her. So you carried me over to the pool, and they put me down. They grabbed the guy, and I guess he was down to his pants or shorts at the time, and they pushed him in the pool. Well, you were very anxious to watch this, so you stood next to them, I guess within arm's distance, because when the guy started waving his arms to try to keep his balance, he tapped you on the shoulder, and you went in, tuxedo and all.
That's right. I forgot.
You landed in the pool, and it was so comfortable, I guess. You turned around, you handed me your wallet and your keys, and dove back in.
Yeah, that's very.
Spent the rest of the job in Bermuda shorts and a shirt that made you look like Fidel Castro, and you played drums for the rest of the evening. That's one of my funniest stories.
That's very good, Steve. I forgot all about that. Very good.
Thanks, Grandma.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Alrighty, and that just about concludes this amazing, incredible Zoom. Thank you so much, Zaydee,
Yay.
for being
Thank
on
you.
here and talking with all of us today. I hope that everyone learned a lot. I know I definitely did, and if nothing else, this was just so much fun. And you always brighten up my day, and just have the best attitude. And so I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone else too with that statement. So
Thank you.
really, thank you so much.
Okay, listen.
Uh-huh.
Stay.
Bye.
When everyone hangs up. I would like the immediate family to stay with us. Can we do that?
No, we'd have to
I don't
redo
think
one.
so. I can
I
make a
think
new
we'd
Zoom,
have to
though, if you'd
start a
like to.
separate
Yeah,
a
we'll
Yeah.
make a
separate
new
phone
Zoom.
call.
Okay, start a separate
Okay.
phone call. Yeah, I need
Okay.
to
Bye.
talk to you. All right,
Aw,
bye.
alrighty. Also, this Zoom, in
Zoom
case,
with Zaydee.
oh my gosh, I think Santa's riding around on the fire truck right outside where we are right now. If you can
Yes. Can you hear?
Okay,
That's
Alexa,
so funny.
do I just leave and then
Yeah,
come
yeah.
back?
Oh, right. I'll sing my little goodbye song. Sorry. And for
Okay,
anyone
let
who
me
maybe
hear the goodbye
missed
song.
for anyone who maybe missed some information, this Zoom will be posted on my YouTube channel, so you can go and check that out if you missed something.
Okay, Britt,
Alrighty.
Sue, and Sandy, I want you to stay along with Lorraine.
Okay.
I'll make another Zoom. Here we go.
I'm
I'm
leaving.
sorry to let you know I really have got to go. Drink water so you're not sick. I love you. Love, Alexa Childick. I love you guys so much. Thank you so
Love
much
you
for joining.
too.
And just keep taking care. Mwah, mwah. Thank you so much for joining. You all made my grandpa really happy. Alrighty. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.